In a small town hidden in the mountains, there stood an old house that the locals had long avoided. The Hill House, as it was called, was built in the early 1900s and belonged to the Reynolds family. The family was quite wealthy and respected, but their lives ended in tragedy, leaving a dark stain on the history of the house. Neighbors said that the Reynolds family was known for their cruelty and despotism. The head of the family, John Reynolds, was a man of harsh character, and no one in town dared to cross him. It was rumored that he often treated his wife and children with violence. One winter, the townspeople stopped seeing anyone from the family. The house was closed and no sound came from its windows. When the police, concerned by the family's disappearance, came to the house, they found a horrifying scene. All the members of the family were dead. John was found hanging in the attic, while his wife and children were frozen in the basement. It appeared that John had gone mad, killed his family, and then took his own life. After this incident, the house was considered cursed. People who dared to approach it reported strange sounds coming from within, and at night, ghostly figures could be seen in the windows. Some brave souls who ventured inside were found either dead or driven insane. One such person was a young man named Thomas. He was a skeptic and didn't believe in ghosts. So he decided to prove to his friends that the Hill House was just an old abandoned building. Thomas entered the house with a camera, intending to film a video to show his friends there was nothing to fear. A few hours later, he was found unconscious at the gates of the house. His camera was nearby, but the footage on it was so horrifying that no one dared to watch it to the end. On the tape, screams could be heard, along with pleas for help, distorted whispers, and footsteps approaching Thomas. Thomas never recovered from the experience. He never spoke another word and was soon placed in a psychiatric hospital, where he remained for the rest of his life. This story quickly spread among the locals, and since then, no one has dared to approach the Hill House. However, the curse lives on. From time to time, passers-by hear strange sounds coming from the house, and some claim to have seen ghosts and the ghost in the windows. Decades after these events, there was a man who not only dared to cross the threshold of this ominous place, but also decided to make it his home. His name was Michael Weston, and he was a historian and paranormal investigator. Michael was convinced that the Hill House was just an old building shrouded in myths and legends, which could be explained from a scientific point of view. Michael bought the house for next to nothing. He wasn't scared by the stories of ghosts and curses. In fact, he thought they might serve as excellent material for his next book. Full of enthusiasm, he began renovating the house, ignoring the warnings of the local townspeople. From the very start, strange things began to happen. He spent his first night in silence, but by the second he was woken by footsteps coming from the attic. Going upstairs, Michael found nothing suspicious and brushed it off as the house's old creaking sounds. However, over time, these oddities began to escalate. The footsteps became more frequent, and at times he felt as though someone invisible was watching him from the shadows. Water droplets started to drip from the ceilings, even though the roof was intact, and the doors opened and closed on their own. One night, as Michael was preparing for bed, he heard a sinister whisper coming from the basement. The investigator in him overcame his fear, and Michael decided to venture into the basement. With a flashlight in hand, he slowly descended the creaky stairs. The basement was cold and damp, and the air felt thick with mold and dust. The beam from his flashlight revealed old furniture, forgotten belongings, and cobweb-covered corners. Suddenly, as he ventured deeper into the basement, The flashlight began to flicker and soon went out entirely. Michael froze, trying not to give in to panic when he heard a quiet, ragged breathing right behind him. He turned, and there before him stood a figure, its shape barely discernible in the darkness. It was something inhuman, with long, stretched-out arms and a grotesquely twisted body. Its eyes glowed, reflecting the faint light, and foam seemed to drip from its mouth. The creature slowly moved closer, and Michael retreated until his back was pressed against the wall. He could hear whispers turning into hoarse laughter and feel an icy cold creeping over his body. At that moment, he realized that this was not just a legend. The house was truly cursed. Michael bolted for the stairs without looking back. He ran through the corridors trying to find the exit, but the house seemed to toy with him, slamming doors shut in front of him and changing the direction of the hallways. When he finally burst outside, his heart pounded so hard he thought it might leap from his chest. He swore to himself that he would never return to that house again. From that day on, Michael became a changed man. He sold the house, but no amount of money could erase the memories of that night. His books were never published, and he disappeared from the public eye. Some said he went to live in a distant monastery, while others claimed he went mad and spent the rest of his days in a psychiatric hospital. But one thing is certain: the Hill House remains the same as it always was: empty, ominous, and impenetrable. And while new owners occasionally come forward, none stay for long. The house seems to push them away, guarding its dark secrets and refusing to let anyone become a part of its grim history.